they're not going to get the muscle building that we need to be doing. We need to be building strength, hypertrophy. They're not going to get the impact and bone density. They're not going to get the boost to the metabolism. Like, what's actually going to help me burn fat? What's going to help me burn adipose tissue? And that is muscle. I need muscle. I'm not going to build it. I'm not going to get that from Pilates.
Welcome to Real Women, Real Results, the podcast where we go beyond the reps and dive into what it really takes to live a stronger, healthier, and more confident life. I'm your host, Jamie Revelle, women's fitness expert and founder of W3 Body Women's Training Gyms in Chicagoland. Each week, we'll bring you real stories, expert insights, and the tools you need to create real results. Let's get into it. Today, we're talking about one of the hottest trends in fitness right now, Pilates. But instead of surface level opinions, I brought in someone with elite level experience in performance, movement, and training. So to all of my listeners, please meet Peter Donohoe. Pete, if you don't mind, if you can give everyone your background, because I'm sure I cannot do it justice, from Olympic bobsledding to training to working with dancers and movement specialists.
Yeah, great. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Jamie. It was a pleasure to have met you there some time ago at our conference. And thanks for having me on your podcast. It's funny when I start to explain what do I do, what's my background, and it seems like I've been restless for a very long time. I'm born and raised in Dublin, Ireland. My mom was a dance teacher, and I was kind of an active kid, very active child, to the point that I set a sofa on fire. Like that's never good.
That sounds like an interesting story.
That's another podcast, Jamie.
Okay.
So my parents decided we need to get this kid into something active. And the only thing that was close by was a dance studio. So I did Irish dance, both hard shoe, soft shoe, as well as ballet. And at the time, it was like, great, okay, fine. It's something that I'm doing. I'm moving. And then a few years later, after that, I'm skipping a bunch of pieces. I go to this new school. It's an all-boys school. That's a bad idea from the start. And some of the kids said to me, "Oh, what sports do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I dance." And needless to say, if you've ever seen the movie Billy Elliot, that was a Billy Elliot moment. That was like, came home, I was not feeling good about myself. And I said to my parents, I just got teased by all the kids at school that I do dance. So at that point, my father said, that's it. We're taking him down to the rugby club. So it meant my father had to kind of drive me, because I was all of 11 or something or 12. My first night of practice at that rugby practice, I was outrunning the kids, like just leaving them behind. So the coach comes up to me and he says, "Mr. Donohoe," he goes, "Where'd you learn how to run this fast?" I said, "Oh, from ballet and Irish step dancing." And he says, "Grand. Well, that'll be our little secret." In other words, don't.
Right. Absolutely not.
So anyway, the only reason I'm telling you that story like that, Jamie, is because that created a foundation for me that I didn't even see. I was blind to that. It was a blind spot, right? A foundation in terms of movement, speed, quickness, fast twitch fibers, elasticity, explosion, coordination, connection with the ground. Like, what was that? That's a little bit of my history from rugby. I got into track and field. I competed at pretty high level as a 110-meter high hurdler and 40-meter hurdles. Switched to the sport of bobsledding in 1996, competed in the 98 Olympic Games and the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. I've been in 5 world championships, 6 European championships. I mean, you name it, I've done it. And while I was doing all of that, and by the way, I was trained as an engineer. So I'm a structural engineer. That was my education. But while I was an engineer, I was still struggling but this is my passion. This is my love, movement, performance, trying to see what can this human body do, or how can it perform at an even better level. So I shelved engineering for what I thought would be a few years, and that was 35 years ago. And 30 years ago, I'm not that old. And so I ended up kind of figuring out a way to create a career for myself in sport performance movement. So I learned a little bit about biomechanics, kinesiology, like movement. Let me put some language to this stuff that I know in engineering terms, in terms of concrete and steel. Let me learn a little bit more about this in terms of the biology of the human being. So I studied that. I worked with some great coaches. I worked with some of the best in the world. Learned a lot more about sports science, putting programs together, how an athlete and how a human being moves and performs. So, I mean, I've had the great distinction and honor of working with people like Dan Pfaff, Stu McMillan, to like those are kind of tip of the iceberg people. Once I was kind of done with my Olympic career, I leaned into training some athletes and coaching them in terms of strength movement and prehab. I'll say prehab because rowing athletes, for example, I worked with about 400 athletes every single week who were all rowing athletes from ages 15 to 20. Overuse, we think about injury, right? They're either caused by overuse or incorrect use. So I was able to kind of incorporate some kind of a strength plan where they were doing less meters on the water, but yet they were coming out with much better results.
Mm.
Tried teaching that to a rowing coach who only knows meters, 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 got to keep rowing,
Right.
putting in time. So that was I always had to sell what's the opportunity? What's the advantage? Why will this make a difference? Anyway, that's a little bit about my circuitous route to get where I am. I opened up a gym in downtown Boston in 2006. And I have a dear friend of mine who's a physical therapist, another friend of mine who's a chiropractor. And they were like, Pete, I've got two people I'm going to send to you. Pete, I got two more people I need to send to you. Pete, the ballet master at Boston Ballet was talking to me. I was adjusting his back and he said, oh, I'm so frustrated with some of the male dancers here at the company. He said, all they want to do is biceps and triceps. And it's not making them better dancers and it's not making them lift the dancers any better. And some of them are injured. What do I do? He said, oh, I think you need to talk to Pete Donohoe. So the ballet master, Tony Randazzo, at that time, Tony had come in and we chatted and he just said, all right, time for you to come in. So I came in, I started working with some of the trainee boys. And then the person who was running the Boston Ballet School, Margaret Tracy at the time, had said, well, hang on a second. Why are the boys getting this? The girls need this too. So all in all, about when I came to Boston Ballet, both the school and the company, their injury rate was about 40%. So 40% of dancers were managing some kind of an injury. More
Wow.
accurately, not managing an injury,
Mm.
right? Managing it through Pilates. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So basically, I went about doing the best I could because again, you're trying to penetrate a culture that's like, wait, we're not picking up weights, don't talk dumbbells. We're not doing that because everybody's got this this misconception that the second I pick up a weight, I'm going to look like Arnold, right? That's a
Hmm.
big mistake, by the way. And I want to say that loud and clear to all of our women listeners. Please, picking up a weight is not going to make you huge. You have no idea the amount of hours, work, years, and supplements that have been consumed by some of these bodybuilders, which unfortunately, while Arnold is a great example of, bodybuilding, he didn't do us any favors. In fact,
Hmm.
he kind of scared people away from picking up a weight. Think about that, right? So now I have to work inside of, fine, you can work with our athletes and dancers, but are you a Pilates teacher? And I said, well, I have learned Pilates, stop Pilates, but I knew enough about strength, movement, and functionality to be able to kind of marry the two in a way where on the outside it looked like I included two or three Pilates exercises, but I was really doing fundamental functional strength with all of the dancers. So after about a year, we brought that injury rate down to 4%.
Wow. Congrats on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Now, I feel too, Jamie, that I could have done more. But again, I was bumping up against, oh, but we have a physical therapist here. And we get
Mm.
like physical therapy is great to put out the fires. But how do I stop the fire from starting to burn in the first place? And that's called putting in structures, systems, and foundations so that the second we put a dancer or an athlete, call them our dancers athletes, under load, they're not now going to put themselves at risk for an injury.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Wow. What a
Jamie, I feel
background,
like this
Pete.
is an extremely long-winded way of getting to and how did you get to be here, Pete? So,
Well, no, I
yeah.
appreciate that. And I think I mean, it's an even like more in-depth, colorful background than what I had learned about you previously. Like, I didn't realize that you started as a kid, in Irish dancing. And I actually played basketball in high school with a girl who grew up Irish dancing. And she ended up running track at a D1 university. So, I mean, but she was lightning fast. So, yeah, I get it. So that's awesome. And like
That's
how crazy that it
oh,
ended up kind of coming full circle for you in like
oh my
way
god.
later in your career.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like I know we're going to talk a little bit about Pilates and Joseph Pilates, but some of these things happen by accident. It was by accident that I lived in a town that had nothing else close to it but a dance studio. It was by accident that I learned how to use my feet and start to fire up those fast twitch muscle fibers. It was by accident that I learned about, well, I didn't learn, I learned many, many years later about the fascial connection and elasticity and that spring and how your body was able to handle load. And oh my word, boy, oh boy, if we knew about those things, even some of the coaches that I worked with, certainly as a young lad, they knew how to teach us the sport, but they didn't really have the physiology or the background or the training to help structure a progression, like a development. How do I really develop this athlete or any
Hmm.
of these athletes or teams? And, we're at a very interesting era now where over the past 15, 20 years, there's so much more science in this business. And, there's also a lot of money in this business and people are making a livelihood out of this. So you got to make sure that you got some science really helping to take care of you so that you don't have a short career. And you want to make sure you're
Absolutely.
doing the right things,
Yeah. There's a method to the madness, as I like to say.
and a little bit of madness to the method too, Jamie,
Sure.
you
Absolutely.
know. I love that you
Absolutely.
played I love that you played basketball, Jamie. What other sports did you do?
I ran track for a couple years in high school as well. And prior to that, I
Yes.
played soccer. So,
Yes. And what was your
yeah.
event?
I did the 400. And I loved high jump and long jump, but I wasn't like
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
loved doing it, but I wasn't great at it. So,
Well, the 400 is probably one of the harder track
it's
events you can
killer.
do.
It's
It is
killer.
killer, Jamie,
Yeah.
right?
The first time that I ran it, I remember, like, you sprint the whole thing, and so by the end of it, your legs are just going, but you can't feel anything. It's wild. Yeah. That'll always
There's a
be
loss of coordination. Your neuromuscular system is starting to shut down. There's a flood of lactic acid through your body. You feel like
totally.
a bear has run out and tackled you when you've got 150 meters to go.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
nuts. Good times. Great times. Um
Yes.
Well, I would say, yeah, then thank you for explaining your whole background because that is, like I said, very colorful, very enlightening, and a great mix of everything that brought you to where you are today and all of the knowledge that you have, which is why I wanted you to be my expert to explain to us why is Pilates so trendy right now?
This is such a great question. So I did a little bit of a deep dive into it. And while we can look at some of the science, we want to take a look at the time in our lives. Pilates has really become a movement since 2021 to 2024. Why? Post pandemic. People came back to, we need community. And you know what? Pilates classes invited community. The other thing with Pilates is it's in a quieter environment and people talk about control, precision, feeling good, breath work. So, in other words, it's still a way to move. It's still a way to join a community of people without feeling like, the hit, you gotta sweat. Otherwise the workout was no good. You got to keep pushing till you're right to the edge. And, like, okay, but that's not the be all and end all in terms of our training. So it's not just an opinion. In fact, I even pulled up some numbers, the data, right?
Yes.
Pilates was the most booked workout globally in 2024, with class pass bookings jumping 84% compared to the year before. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. That's Yeah, wow. That's
Isn't
nuts.
that so? So that's not a blip. That's a movement, Jamie. So ClassPass attributed it to Pilates' strong social media presence. That's another big deal, and the devoted following. And TikTok reported 105% increase in Pilates posts between 2023 and 2024. Who do we blame? Well, I think we blame social media. That was certainly the accelerant. It was not the fuel. And then a deeper dive is the post pandemic reorientation. Where do I go? How do I find people again? I'm sick and tired of looking at my phone and my Zooms and my computer. Though there is value to that now because I'm still working with clients in France and the UK on the screen, which is great. But I think that the whole people were really craving human contact, human interaction, and let's get rid of the isolation. And there was something that felt safe, intentional, and personal in a way that I think the large gyms didn't really offer. I mean, going to a gym, fine. You and I know this business. And when we go to a gym, we kind of we know what we need to do. We know where we need to go. And okay, good. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. But we know that, Jamie, because we've been in this business. But a lot of people really need a little bit more guidance, coaching in an environment that was kind of curated and it was quiet and the machines look kind of sexy and boutique. So that it's the environment, right? It's not just the what am I going to get out of this? It's like how does that look and how does that feel? Because a lot of people now are choosing to do classes based on what was that experience like for me without really understanding, did that really help work on, reshaping my bone density? Did that really work on boosting my metabolism, creating more of that functional musculature that I really know I need? Did that really help combat the decline that happens, which is such a terrible thing? I'm sorry, women just get such the short end of the stick, after age 35, like hormonal imbalance, you know, menopausal, like what? Come on, that's not fair. I
Agreed.
mean, honest to God, listen, you got to understand, Jamie. Like when I worked in the ballet world, 90% of my students were women.
Hmm.
Were young women who are like trying to find their path and their way in the world around their own sport or their own goals or aspirations. So my heart goes out to the women who are navigating this wild field right now.
Well, thank you for being so thoughtful.
Oh my
Um,
God. It's yeah, I work with this company Hydro, and I write a lot of the programs and the content. And who's our audience? Our audience are women 40 plus.
mhm,
They're like, all right, fine, I want to learn how to row. Okay, but can you tell me how to lose 10 pounds, please?
mhm,
Like, please, how do I do something that's gonna make me feel like, oh, damn, I did something good for my back and for my hips today.
mhm.
So that's my audience, and that's what people want answers to.
Totally. So with that being said, do you think that just kind of how you described, because I'm trying to see like what was it about the social media presence and these videos and
Yeah.
things from 2023 to 24 that really pushed Pilates forward? Like what was it? And it sounds like what you're saying is that it's, it was the idea of community, absolutely. Community and connection. And then that paired with this environment that felt comfortable and non-intimidating,
Yeah.
and then you marry the 2, you show that on social media, and then, like, boom, somehow it just became, like, the end all be all for women that that's what they need to do for their fitness.
Well, and of course the appeal is, oh wait, I can go to a studio with like-minded women who are kind of she looks like me. I feel like we can relate to each other. And you're in an environment where you have an instructor who hopefully they're trained well. This is not about the music, it's not about the clanging of the weights, it's not about the echo. It's really about getting some connection and some instruction. And while that's a big piece of it, right? And then I suppose people don't then really understand, well, am I getting what I think I'm getting out of this Pilates? I'm still moving. I'm still working some of that intrinsic core. I'm still developing some of that coordination or contrology that Joseph Pilates said that this is all about. But I'm neglecting building muscle. I'm neglecting building bone health. But again, some people don't even know that. Like, really, is that something I really need to be addressing?
Yeah.
Or I'm doing this thing 4 days a week or 3 days a week, and it
Hmm.
feels good. I'm doing it with my pals. And I also think too, like I didn't have social media when I was competing. And, it's only in the past, well, I don't know, 5, 10 years really where social media has really exploded. I'd probably say post COVID, I certainly used it a little bit during COVID to announce that I was going to have a live class on a Saturday morning, you
Hmm.
know, 9 a.m. Boston, 3 o'clock Mykonos, 2 o'clock Paris, who's out there? Come on in.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, no,
yeah,
same. I didn't use it as often pre-COVID, but it was how we stay connected with our
yeah.
members and, when we were gonna host live classes and all of that. So, and then from there, it was like I had to always post updates and then it just you couldn't get off of it, sadly. But
Well, I
totally
know,
get
and
it.
now I have a lot of clients who are like, "Oh, no, I don't do social media." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, how do I get a message?
Totally.
I write you a letter?"
Yeah, snail mail. So I know we'll get into more of like you were just mentioning about if you're doing Pilates as, your single like modality, fitness modality and or if you're doing it often like what you're missing. But I think to set that up, if we could go over
Yeah.
the original intent of Pilates. You kind of mentioned it
Mhm.
a little bit, but I think you said it
Yeah.
happened by accident, right?
Literally by accident. Crazy, right?
Tell us more.
So
Yes.
this goes back all the way to World War One. So Joseph Pilates was Austrian, and he was put in a prison camp in the Isle of Man, of all places. And right there, Joseph Pilates was dealing with some of his own ailments. He had rickets, he had asthma, he had rheumatoid arthritis. He was not a healthy specimen by any stretch. So what he did is he just kind of created movements, just because he felt like, oh, at least if I move, I feel better. So when I kind of like fast forward a little bit further, like he's in this internment camp with other injured soldiers, and he saw some of these injured soldiers that were just withering away, were waiting for healing to happen. And we both know that if we just sit around, while things might feel better, they're not getting better. So, and again, like here's here's kind of a crazy person who was ahead of his time, who said, "Let's get these people moving." So he hooked up, broom handles and springs to hospital beds, and somebody's lying there with their leg in a cast, but he's having them do rows and pull-ups and pushes, engaging their core, doing gentle rotations. And lo and behold, it actually helped accelerate their recovery without knowing the science behind it. So let's move 1929. Joseph Pilates and his wife moved to New York City. They set up a studio to continue to work with injured soldiers in these hospital beds. You know where I'm going? These four-poster hospital beds
Hmm.
is now a reformer,
Wow. Yeah.
right? How about that? Or a Cadillac. So he was working with these injured soldiers to help them kind of stay healthy and moving and use their brain a little bit to kind of connect to their bodies. And again, a whole mind body connection. 1929. What? In that same building, George Balanchine, New York City Ballet at the time, had kind of stuck his head in and go, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm working on injured, soldiers and injured people." He said, "Oh, I've got an injured dancer. Do you think you could maybe work with one of my injured dancers?" And he did. And I guess the injured dancer had an injured ankle, but he didn't address the ankle. He addressed the hip, the back, and the knee, but the ankle got better. So again, functional movement, he started at the brain of a problem solver like an engineer and took a look at the system rather than just well, let me look at that one pain, which again, unfortunately, is kind of where sometimes I feel the physical therapy world kind of falls short. They're addressing the pain rather than taking a look at the whole system.
Hmm.
So New York City Ballet then started to send more of their injured dancers to the Joseph Pilates studio. And literally, that's how it happened. That's how it happened. This is before anybody knew about doing strength training. This is about control. This is about movement, learning your body, learning where you are in terms of movement. building that deeper intrinsic core, not the six pack that everybody talks about, but really that core that's going to help me function and help me have a healthier, happier back.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that then just kind of came synonymous with the world of ballet. And I guess it got to the point where New York City Ballet, when they would go on tour, they would take a reformer on tour with them so that their performers could do some preparatory work rehab work on the reformer. So, still to this day, a lot of ballet companies, you interview them, artistic directors, and they keep kind of going back to this, oh, but we use Pilates. And again, let's not forget, this is 100 years ago. This is 1929. Things have evolved. If you are a ballet company, you need to be thinking about things a lot more than just Pilates. Pilates is a great add-on. It should not be your primary vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just I didn't introduce this well in the beginning, but this is how like I met Pete. We met at a conference, and
Yeah.
I have no idea what you said, but it's like somehow we got on the topic of Pilates like right away, and I was like, just why is Pilates so trendy? Like it kills me.
And it is trendy. It's trendy. It's having its moment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's having its moment. Stay tuned.
Okay. Perfect. Well, so and I actually got into a conversation about strength training and functional strength training, and like
Mm.
it's buzzy for women right now, but that I hope that that's not a trend. Like that there is science that backs that up, that I hope that's not a trend and that continues forever, but for
Yeah.
everybody's sake, including my own. How different is modern Pilates then from the original method? Totally.
Two different solar systems.
Wow.
Yeah. And so if you think about Pilates, there's classical Pilates, which is the Joseph Pilates methodology. Now, it's very rigid, how you get onto the reformer, how you bring your feet around, how you do X, Y, and Z. And again, let's not forget, this was created from the opinion of one guy
Mm-hmm.
who didn't have a sports science background, who didn't have an engineering degree, who didn't know, you know, the anatomy. And so there's classical Pilates, and there are some people who just like classical Pilates because it feels good in terms of how they move, how they express their movement, their control, and their coordination. So for somebody who's not doing anything, I actually think it's a pretty good place to start because you're going to build a lot more body awareness, movement awareness, core awareness, or lack of core awareness. So I definitely think that's a piece. There's classical. Now we're going into the nightclub in Mykonos and Ibiza Pilates, where let's bring in a ball, let's bring in a ring, let's add this, let's shout out to
Sounds
my
wild.
right. So it's a dramatic different world. Like, oh, let's bring in some movements from the bar. Let's not talk about bar, another podcast, but like let's throw everything so that you've got the whole bus, and like you walk out of a Pilates class just red faced, sweating. Your clothes are stuck to you. Like, oh my god, that was a great workout. Like, that's not Pilates.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
not Pilates. That was like, you know, high rocks, PE, CrossFit without the weights and the gymnastics. It is just it's noise.
Mhm.
And my daughter is 27. She lives in New York City, and she goes to these classes because there's energy there, and oh, I love this teacher and I like this teacher. And again, it's like it's appealed to the emotion, right? The environment. Oh my God, the towel, the smell, the scent. Oh my, Legree? What's Legree? Oh my God, it's Pilates on steroids. It is, the instructor is in theater and they're expressive. So again, we're looking at the experience of it. Like
Mm.
the experience of the nightclub is really amazing. But, you keep going to the nightclub, you're like, well, my hearing's not so great. I'm exhausted. I haven't gained any more muscle and my bone density is still declining,
Mm.
you know? So, um,
Yeah. So thinking of those like emotional, psychological, I guess, benefits or what that might do for someone, I
yeah,
feel like because of the trend, it made them feel very included.
yeah,
Not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, just that that's what it seems like after it started blowing up. Like I like, like I do Pilates. I don't know. I'm still trying to understand it. And I thank you for helping me wrap my head
Well,
around it.
well, so, you can imagine, I go down to New York and I'll have dinner with my daughter and her pals, and I'll go to her core power yoga class. That's not yoga. But I walk out of there just beaten up. But you know
Hmm.
what? I support my daughter in whatever venture she's doing, but she's learning enough now to say, I actually think I'm going to put myself into a proper yoga training program that requires 2, 3, 400 hours of training.
Yeah.
So that way then she could do that anywhere and everywhere. But I go there and, they're like, oh my God, we went to this, is it SLT? That's another Pilates thing.
Mm.
So it's just sexy names given to things that just and here's the other crazy thing, Jamie, is like of the people who are actually working out, all of these different trends are grabbing from there's the same people doing the same classes, and they're just moving to this class. Like, oh wait, Belinda's teaching over at Bryant Park. Let's go over to Bryant Park. They've got blah 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 over there. Here's what's missing. The education, right? So I feel like it's our duty, Jamie, to help educate our clients a little bit more about you got to do strength training. Why is it important? What are some of the myths that we can kind of clear up for you around picking up a weight? Why is it important for my metabolism? Why is it important for me to think about not tripping and falling and breaking a hip when I'm 65 or 75 years old?
Hmm.
You know, longevity is having its moment right now, and longevity is going to continue having its moment because there are people my age and older who are now finding their way to, I need a trainer or I need to be doing something. And right now, my partner is teaching up at Berkshire Pilates in Great Barrington, and her clients, youngest her clients, are in their 70s, youngest, because they know that they need to do strength training, but getting on the reformer, doing some body awareness, stability work, intrinsic core work, that's still beneficial. Would we love to see some of them pick up a weight? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a place to start.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, Jamie, we got to get people moving.
Yeah. And speaking of that, so like if someone's doing Pilates 4 to 5 times a week, or just in general, if that's like the main thing that they do, they don't really do anything else. What are they missing
Oh my God.
long term?
Yeah, so again, they're not gonna get the muscle building that we need to be doing. We need to be building strength, hypertrophy. They're not gonna get the impact and bone density. They're not gonna get the boost to the metabolism. Like, what's actually gonna help me burn fat? What's gonna help me burn adipose tissue? And that is muscle. I need muscle. I'm not gonna build it. I'm not gonna get that from Pilates. I'll get tired from Pilates. I'll develop my coordination and my ability to stabilize my core. Okay. I'll develop a little bit more body awareness and coordination. Great. So those are good complements to this vehicle, this animal over here called strength. I need to be lifting. That's not negotiable anymore.
Mhm.
The science is hitting us in the face. The data is hitting us in the face. You want to live longer and healthier. I mean, we look at our parents or our grandparents or great grandparents who never knew the first thing about picking up a weight, who never knew really the first thing about stretching a hip or stretching a glute. And God bless them, a lot of them lived like well into their years, but I saw them struggle. I saw grandparents struggling who are 65 and 70 years old with pain that, geez, if they did 15 minutes of stretching twice a week, that would disappear. But they didn't know. They didn't know. And the environment wasn't set up that way for
Yeah.
people to even think about picking up a weight,
Yeah.
you know?
And so with that, just to clarify for our listeners, I guess, can Pilates build strength? And my answer is no, not in the way that true strength training, true weightlifting can. So then
Exactly.
what is Pilates missing to be able to do that? That obviously strength
Load,
training offers.
load,
Load.
load.
Yeah.
Picking up heavy stuff, you know, pulling the things that are a little heavy, pushing on things a little heavy. The springs are great, but again, they provide minimal resistance so that I can still feel like I'm moving and developing some of that stability and that core. I am missing the load. The body needs to get loaded in order for it to adapt. So stimulus, adaptation equals results.
Hmm.
I need a stimulus. I need to pick up something. My body's going to have a response to that. It's going to adapt to that. And then I'm going to feel like, oh, I can see now I just got stronger. So we talk about progressive in our business, in the strength, fitness, and performance business. We talk about progressive overload. Like, great, okay, so you've just been doing the same exercise for the past 6 months. Did you add more weight? Did you add more reps? Did you change up how you did it? Did you pick up one foot and put on a box while you did it? You've got to keep that body challenged. There's a thing, there's a, what is it? The principle of adaptation. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, your body's going to get very efficient at doing that. It's not going to see any changes or improvements. And this is where people hit the word plateau.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to keep challenging the body. You got to pick up a weight and do it well, with a good training that's going to help you accomplish your goals when you do pick up a weight or,
Yep.
do a
Ab-
pull down or a row or something.
Absolutely. And progress you safely. We talk about that a lot.
And progress you safely. Yeah, exactly. This is not like one and done,
Yeah.
like great. I went to YouTube and I learned how to do a squat. All I'm going to do now is squats. It's, the human body, we were built to be farmers, we were built to go out and run the hills and find our food. So the body's not working in a linear pattern. And we can't just get stuck doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, if Pilates is your thing and you love the community, great. Don't get rid of it. Enjoy it. But please start to engage in picking up weight and strength and really strengthen, like really make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we do.
Which is
In
great.
terms of community, like we try and aim to build that community and foster
Great.
that community, but our fitness method is strength training. So,
I love it. And in fact, Jamie, I admire you leaning into women's strength, and providing a place and a space where women feel like, great, I've got like-minded women in a similar community. We're all after the same thing. We want to be healthy. We want to be strong. We want to live long. And at the end of the day, we'd like to look good,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's
Walk a
great.
little taller. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
If someone loves Pilates, how can they use it intelligently without giving up results? And I guess on the flip side of that, if you're programming fitness for a woman in her 40s who wants to look, feel, and function her best, like what type of like blended workout or what type of fitness methods would you give her? Training program.
So this is an interesting one, Jamie, because we got a square peg and we got a round hole. Like I can't turn this into something and I can't turn this into something else.
Mhm.
So Pilates standalone in itself was designed for us to learn control of the body through core movement, teach people a little bit more about coordinating and connecting with their bodies. Because Jamie, honest to God, there's a lot of people who, like you say, pick up your left hand and pick up your left foot. And that's like we've just spoken German to them.
Mhm.
So the language of movement is not as fluent as we think it is because we just take it for granted. We wake up in this environment, Jamie. We wake up at the fact that we've had an athletic background. So we know how to pick up something off the ground without hurting our backs. But there's a lot of people who don't. So I think that there's a very, very important population that can really avail of that entry point through Pilates. Now, you got to do strength training, but I think you can do strength training where you're sneaking in some Pilates movements into this environment. That's an easier transition than trying to put yourself into the Reformer or the Cadillac or, or the ladder barrel, again, pieces of equipment that were created in the 20s that while they serve some function because they get people to move, and they also get people to move in ways that they're probably not moving in their regular lives, it's not solving the problem. It's a help. It's a nice entryway, but it's not the big picture. So if anything, Jamie, I would look at it this way. There's a way that you can do a warm up, mobilization, activation, incorporating a couple of moves that look very similar to what you see in the Pilates realm, and now pick up a weight.
Mm.
So what you want to do is you want to be able to help reinforce corrective movement. And I feel like there's some aspects of the Pilates world that can help facilitate movement, but now we want to reinforce that. We're not getting enough out of the springs or the handles or the straps. We need to have it, with a weight. So I think it's easier to do it from the strength floor than it is to do it from the Pilates floor.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, because I feel like if you're going to Pilates and that's what you really love, like incorporating these other things that
Yeah,
it just would feel then that you're not doing Pilates anymore. Whereas on the flip side, in strength training, and I love the way that you described that, you can add in movements that challenge your balance, your core, of course, your
absolutely.
coordination, rotation and anti-rotation. We have that a lot actually coming up. So,
Right.
um, and then of course, like mobility, flexibility. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a
really
great way
great.
to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, I had that same challenge, right, with the ballet world, where I was given basically a room with 40 students, nothing else. So I had to be very creative and very inventive. And I was. And, we were able to get results without picking up a dumbbell. On occasion, I was allowed a TheraBand. And again, like, this is not rehab. These are 17-year-old vibrant athletes. Give me a 45-pound bar. Let's do some lunges across the floor. Oh, no, 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 no. They wouldn't have it. But again, we got to be very creative.
Mhm.
Problem solving.
Yeah. Quick rapid fire questions for you or for you the listeners and some key takeaways. So, what's one myth about Pilates you'd love to clear up? And you kind of already
Mm.
mentioned it, I think, but
Well, you're not really building strength. Sorry, sorry.
cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not there.
what's one thing women should stop chasing in fitness trends?
Toning.
Mm.
If I hear that word one more time, I swear to God, toning, and I want to be long and strong. Shut up. Stop. Please. You know, you are not built like the 5'8" professional ballet dancer who has been dancing their entire lives, who like, oh my God, I love her body. No, love the body that you've got. Just make it better and stronger, more functional.
Mhm.
Because you're beautiful just the way you are. And I think that's the thing we have to really start to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, hang on a second, I'm all right here. But I can help me be better rather than looking over there and go, oh my gosh, what's she doing? The other thing is I really cannot stand the term Pilates arms or Pilates core. And we have some friends of ours who tells us, like, to my face, "Oh my god, I did 5 minutes of Peloton arms today." I'm like, "Jen, like, do you know who you're talking to?
Right. Wrong guy.
Please, stop. Stop. I did 5 minutes of arms, I did a soul cycle class, and then I did this, and I did that." I'm like, "But you didn't pick up a weight once in the past month,
Oh, wow.
Jamie." You
That
I could tell you stories if you knew it. And even some of the questions, I'm like, "All right, I have to be kind and respectful of the fact that you've not had a background like this. Let me help
right,
teach you a little bit."
right.
So,
Hopefully
yeah.
they have an open mind. So, then with that, what should women start focusing on instead?
Go find a darn good trainer who's gonna help guide you to picking up some weights properly. By the way, not everybody needs to be doing deadlifts. Just because you see people knocking out big numbers on deadlifts, that should not be your goal. That's that's like saying, my goal is to put my back at big risk and potentially, rupture a disc. No, like, go find a really well-trained coach, strength coach, that's gonna help guide you so that you can build your strength in the way that you move and the way that you like to move. Very, 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 very important.
Mhm.
The big classes, like, well, I'm going to go to class because my friend Mary and Susie are here. Okay, fine. But are these going to be classes where you're going to build strength that's going to be suited to you, to how your body is, how your body moves compared to Mary and Sue? Maybe not.
Mm.
Go spend the time and the little bit of money on finding a really good strength coach.
And with that, and this might be your answer, what you just said, if listeners remember one sentence from today, what should it be?
I'm Irish, so I say a lot, Jamie. Like, we're known for the chat. Um, I think probably one of the most important things is lifting weights is not going to make you huge. I think it's really important that you understand that lifting weights is going to help you burn fat, boost your metabolism, reshape your bone density. Like we can actually make an impact of that and build better functionality. You know, a stronger you is going to be a happier you, and a stronger you is going to be a longer you.
I like that.
That's a good
That's
sentence.
a
I
good
just
one.
came up.
Love it. Perfect sentence to end with, Pete. Well, thank you.
Okay.
That was so incredibly insightful and on the background and just the science and the deep dive into how the
Thank you.
Pilates trend came to be today
Yeah.
and how it can complement a good strength program, but how ultimately true functional strength training is where it's at for a longer, better you. A longer, what did you just say? Better.
A, stronger and longer you.
There you go. Perfect for a
Stronger,
stronger and
happier,
longer
and
you.
longer you. And by the way, that's when I used to run hurdles.
Oh,
So I'm in full split there.
that's so cool. Wow. Well, thank you again, Pete. It was such a pleasure having you on the Real Women, Real Results podcast. And talk to you soon.
Thanks for doing what you do, Jamie. And next time I'm in Chicago, I'm going to come find you.
Please do.
You bet. See you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Women, Real Results. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and leave a review. It helps more women find these powerful stories. If you're local and want to join our gym, check out our 4-week trial. Head to train@w3body.com for more info. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, w3body_Berwyn and w3body_Elmhurst for more strength, support, and community. See you next time.